Hi everyone, let's have a quick look at the solution to Christmas coding part B. This is a little bit more complicated than part A because we have to figure out how to use these pseudocode inbuilt functions in our solution, and we also need to figure out this inbuilt function EOF with this line of pseudocode while not EOF. So we've got a few built-in functions here that we need to figure out. So let's have a go and see if we can piece together a solution to this problem. So first of all, we have the definition of a module or a subroutine in Python. We need to ask ourselves, is this a procedure or is this a function? I don't see any return code here, so this is a procedure. And the name is read file. And there are no parameters. We just have empty brackets. There are no parameters. And remember guys, this is pseudocode, so you don't need the colon. That's Python. Okay? So inside this procedure, we're going to declare some variables. I'm going to declare f to be a file. I'm going to declare present and file string to be strings. And I'm going to declare colon to be an integer. So those are all my variables at the moment. I might need some more, so we might come back to this later in the solution. The next thing we do is open a file for read. So we're going to open file. Which file? You've guessed it, global goodies.txt for read. We're then going to loop through the entire file and do some processing. So that's what this for loop is doing in Python. And there's a really neat way to do this in pseudocode if we know that we're going to process every line of a file. While not end of file. Now this is a built-in function and we just need to give it the name of the file. While not end of file, global goodies.txt, we're going to do something. While do. That's a pseudocode pair. So this means we're going to process the whole file. We're going to read each line in the file. If you remember, the file stores the username and then a colon and then the name of the present for many different people who want Christmas presents. Okay, so we're going to read each line and process each line of this file. So we need to read the file. Which file? Yeah, global goodies.txt. We need to read that file, and each time we read a line from the file, we need to just store it in a variable. So I've created or declared a variable called file string for this purpose. So in the while loop, I'm going to start reading the file, and each line that I come across, I'm going to store it in a variable so I can process it. So at the very beginning of the program, we read this line into this variable. And on the next iteration of the while loop, the next time we do it, we're going to read this line into the variable for processing. Okay? So, what are we doing with this string that we've just grabbed from the file? Well, what we want to do is we're trying to grab the present. We're trying to get this information. The easiest way to do that is to find the index of the colon in each of these strings. If we know the index of the colon, we know that the next index is the start of the present name. So the trick here is to grab the index of that colon. And in Python, this is how to do it. Python has a function called index, which will give you the index of a character in a string. Right? So if we were to run this code on this string here, it would give us 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It would give us the number 7 because that's the index of the colon. Now in pseudocode, it's a little bit different. We're going to use this built-in function. It's called index, and it needs two parameters. It needs a string and it needs a character. Well, this is how we're going to do it. I'm going to say, okay, my variable that I've called colon, which is an integer, this thing is going to be assigned the result of calling the index function. The string that I'm going to send into this function is file string. There's the string. Please look for this character, because that's the character that I'm looking for. So that would return an integer, which I'm storing in this variable. I can now use this integer to grab the present. In Python, we would just take a string and slice it using the square brackets. Hopefully you're familiar with that technique in Python for slicing strings. So if index is 1, that shouldn't be index, should it? That should be colon. That should be colon plus 1. I'll fix that, don't panic. That should be colon plus 1. So if colon is 7, then present is going to be a slice of this string from index colon plus 1, which is 8, which is that thing there. That will grab the present. Okay? So let's see if we can figure this out. We're going to use the end built-in function. It returns a substring of s starting at index start. So it takes the string and it will send back a substring returning at this starting at this index. So this thing that I'm calling present here is where I'm going to store the information. Present is assigned end file string, that's the string with all the information in it, and the start point is colon plus 1. Right? Colon was that index, which was in this example 7, but the present starts at 8. The C is at index 8, so that's colon plus 1. And then we're going to just output next order is present. So output next order, and then the contents of that variable present. And that is the end of the while loop. So now that we've finished processing the file, we should close the file. Global goodies.txt. And that is officially the end of the procedure. So don't forget in pseudocode to end your procedure. And that's the solution to part B of Christmas coding. If you're not sure about some of these lines of code here, you really want to make sure you find out how all of that works. Merry Christmas.